You may have seen Stagger before, but not like this. Usually you'll see it in action titles, but we've brought it to a strategy game. In this deep delve, you'll find out how it works, what it is, and how to use it to bring down giant monsters and bosses. Dealing damage to monsters with your attacks fills your stagger gauge. When the stagger gauge is completely full, the monster becomes staggered. Though in As We Descend, you'll be able to stagger monsters early sometimes. Each attack after the gauge is halfway full has a chance to stagger with increasing chance, so eventually you'll definitely land the stagger, but you might get lucky every now and then and break the monster's stagger early. When a monster becomes staggered, it's interrupted. That means whatever it was doing before, it's not doing it anymore. This allows you to convert your offense into defense by timing your staggers well. When the monster is doing a scary attack or a special intent that you just want to prevent, if you land the stagger and fill its gauge at that time, you will interrupt that move. Most monsters just try to recover when they are staggered, so they'll do defensive moves and then they will break free. However, some monsters will get really enraged, like the behemoth or giant crab boss. It will do a revenge attack when it is staggered, so you have to watch out for when you land that stagger. Again, stagger is an important tactical tool for you, so you have to decide when to use it. And that leads us to our favorite part about stagger. When a monster becomes staggered, you're able to target its weak points, and all monsters have a crit point. When you hit the crit point, you deal terrible damage. All attacks deal 50% extra damage against the crit point. Bigger monsters also have breakpoints. Each breakpoint has its own health, and when a breakpoint is broken, the monster alters its moveset and weakens. So you'll be able to use this tactically in order to control the flow of battle and best increase your odds of winning the battle. Some extra fun breakpoints in the game. When the Thrasher's tail is destroyed, it no longer does its cleaving attack, so you're allowed to swarm it with melee units. You can also break the head on the husk, destroying its shell, and it loses all armor and reduces its barrier potential. There are many breakpoints like this throughout the game that do unique effects, so you'll just have to keep your eye out for the unique breakpoints on all these monsters. Each monster type has its own stagger threshold, so certain monsters are a lot more vulnerable to stagger. This means that in specific encounters, you'll want to bring your troops that deal extra stagger to take them down. An example is the Sand Prowler. They're this foe that does a ton of damage on the first turn of battle, but they have a very low stagger threshold. You'll be able to mitigate lots of the damage on the first turn of battle and also subdue the special ability of the Sand Prowler. Now this will let you turn a impossible feeling battle into maybe even an easy battle if you use this one simple trick. In addition to monsters having different stagger thresholds, monsters stay staggered for different amounts of time. So smaller enemies are very easy to stagger and thus recover very quickly as well, but bosses and huge enemies, you're gonna have to spend a long time chipping away at its stagger gauge until it's full, and then that monster becomes staggered for multiple turns, so that is your chance to really go all out. A small note of caution though, while most enemies only do defensive actions and recovery actions while staggered, certain enemies become enraged instead, like the behemoth boss. This giant boss will do a devastating guard zone attack against you when it becomes staggered, so be careful. If you played our demo, you must have faced a foe with high armor like the Thrasher or the Plague Soldier. Against these enemies, each hit does reduce damage, but you are still dealing the full stagger amount, and when a monster becomes fully staggered, its armor drops to 0. While there are many fun ways to deal with armor in the game, like Armor Shred, Burning, and Rupture, you will always have stagger because all units can bring stagger to the table. This will be your ace in the hole. Speaking about damage conversion to stagger, melee damage gets full contribution while range damage only contributes half to stagger. Of course, melee damage tends to be a little lower while range damage is higher, so this gives you different specialization. You want to bring melee units in order to deal more stagger to your foes, while you bring range units to capitalize on crit points and break points. Thanks for joining on today's I don't want today's deep delve, it's like the weather forecast. Thanks for tuning in to the first deep delve. Take the knowledge with you and descend ever deeper into As We Descend, and max out your Dissension level. Wishlist the game on Steam in order to make sure that you hear about it when it launches, so you can try out all these strategies. Who knows, you might even be able to sneak into the next demo phase of the game and try it out early.